Despite possibly eking out a win for Joe Biden, Democrats did not have a good night on Tuesday night. A lot of key races ended up going to Republicans. For example, Mitch McConnell destroyed Amy McGrath in Kentucky, but it's Kentucky, you might say. Well, I mean, yes and no, but also there's millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on that race. You had Tommy Tuberville, which sounds like a cartoon character from like Thomas and Friends, beating Doug Jones in Alabama. Suzanne Collins survived in Maine. Lindsey Graham beat Jamie Harrison. Basically, what it looks like is that the Democrats are not going to win the Senate. And you also have Democrats losing in the House. And that's despite very, very lofty projections from a lot of Democratic leaders. And so they are not happy about this. As Politico notes, the blame game is starting to begin. In fact, according to this article, they said the unreliable polls, the GOP's law and order message amid a summer of unrest, the hidden Trump voters, the impeachment hangover, the lack of a coronavirus stimulus deal, all targets of speculation as to what went wrong on Tuesday. Now, before I get into more detail, Francesca, I'm just going to ask you, do they not get it?
I think just from you reading that and just from that setup, I think they don't know necessarily what the remedy is, but they do know there's a problem. I was watching MSNBC yesterday and Brian Williams is like, I mean, does Nancy Pelosi even get to lead in this House? Does Chuck Schumer still retain minority leader? And of course, Lawrence O'Donnell immediately was like, well, I don't think it's that serious. And so they put the lid on. But we're talking about mainstream media figures that are already asking these questions, the questions we've been asking for a long time now. But absolutely, when you solicit and pour in, what is it, $88 million? I don't know it's like some insane amount of money that went to Amy McGrath's campaign against Mitch McConnell. Of all the seats, right now, you've got Reverend Warnock going to go to a runoff, right, with Kelly Loeffler, however you say her name, in January. But if he had the money that McGrath had, maybe he would have won outright because that was more winnable. They love McConnell. They love McConnell and Graham. If you don't know how much voters, I'm assuming white voters and Republican voters love McConnell and Graham, then it's like, yes, they disgust us, but they're the only ones keeping the Republican Party afloat right now, simply by believing in it and simply by being so evil that they're famous,
Right.
So it's anyway, so I do think that the Democrats are starting to ask questions. I just wonder what kinds of conclusions they're going to come to. And we have ours, of course.
We'll get to that conclusion. In fact, there are some people talking about a leadership change. Interesting. So now, according to the same article, some corners of the party were beginning to question the message and tactics at the top, with several Democrats predicting and some demanding a significant overhaul within the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, including possibly even ousting Chairwoman Sherry Bustos, whose Illinois race is yet to be called. And another idea is to replace Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. But if you're wondering, of course, whether or not this will lead to them listening to progressives, the answer, of course, is sadly hell no. Two unnamed Democrats told The Hill on Wednesday that they were reaching out to their colleagues about backing one of Pelosi's top lieutenants, House Democratic Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries, for Speaker in the next Congress. And so there's that.
Look, I mean, the reality is, and this is the sad reality, is as much as we love AOC and the squad and Ayanna Pressley and Ilhan Omar and, Rashida Tlaib and now Jamal Bowman and Mondaire Jones, as much as we love them and Pramila Jayapal, that love isn't enough to grow their clout and grow their strength in Congress, Every year, the Congressional Progressive Caucus puts out a budget. They say what they think America's priorities should be with all of its money. Well, Do we read that budget? No, I don't really. I mean, I've seen it a couple times,
I
but
love
like,
that budget.
it's, oh my God, it's a brilliant budget. It's brilliant. It is the stuff that we should be focused on. But we have power, but we got to use it, right? It's not enough for us to just love someone so hard. We have to be like, we have to grow their numbers in Congress. And the only silver lining, I know someone in the comments is saying Dems lost the House. Exactly. And the only silver lining is actually now there are fewer centrist Dems, and there are more progressive Dems. And that means that their power grows a little bit.
Right.
Look, I don't like Hakeem Jeffries, but I think he's better than Pelosi.
I will differ with that just a little bit. I think he's just more of a younger face and the same kind of leadership style. I mean, that's
Maybe.
my guess. He's not in leadership. I don't know. But here's another quote from one of the Democrats. This time, this is from The Hill. They said on replacing Pelosi and what they should do. Quote, "It's time for Democrats to elevate a new generation of leadership in both the House and Senate." One of the Democrats told The Hill. Now, look, if we're going with that, then absolutely, I would agree with that. Yes, we need more. We need new leadership. We need better leadership. But here's where they get you with the but. Americans are clearly afraid of socialism, want safe streets and neighborhoods, and to vote for people they believe will help put more money in their pockets. While Democratic policies can adequately address those issues, our messaging mechanism clearly cannot. Those are right-wing talking points. Those are Republican talking points. If it didn't say random Democratic staffer or whatever congressperson, I would think that it's a Republican.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't get it. They don't get it at all. I feel like all they want to do is swap out one corporate Democrat with a younger corporate Democrat, and that's all they want. They're ignoring the AOCs. They're ignoring the Jamal Bowmans. They're ignoring Cori Bush, which, by the way, you know who did awesome on election night? DSA-backed candidates.
Yes.
I think it was like 26 out of 30, 27 out of 30 won their races. And so you are right. They're getting rid of the corporate Democrats. They're getting culled, beaten by Republicans, which is, again, unfortunate because they're getting replaced by Republicans. But maybe it opens up a spot for progressives to run. The problem is with that, it's such a long strategy to try to replace these. And not only you have to bring up these candidates, you have to make sure that they follow things set forward by groups like Justice Democrats, for example, has done great work. These candidates have to not take corporate money. They have to be honest. They have to be people that, will actually represent their community. And then they have to get funded. They have to get national news attention, which corporate media does not give them. They're not interested in giving them any sort of media attention.
I mean,
so many.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I think whereas a year ago, 2 years ago, Pelosi was like the green dream or whatever, she knows what the Green New Deal is now. She knew it then, but now she can't even pretend like she doesn't know what it is. And Sunrise Movement and Justice Democrats, who I think the Justice Dems were called nerds who had no power. Yeah. Well, Ed Markey found out what happens when you get Sunrise and Justice Dems on your side, right? They pull for you. Cori Bush finds out. Mondaire Jones finds out, right? Elliot Engel found out when he lost to Jamal Bowman in his district, right? 33-year incumbent. These people effed around and found out. And the fact that Markey could say, I'm going to embrace climate change, a climate change platform and the Green New Deal, and then Sunrise turned out for him, it's like, that is a lesson. And I of course, there's going to be a lot of, anonymous hot takes of random staffers. I don't know who those people are. I don't think they know what they're talking about. I think that the proof is in the pudding. The proof is moderate Dems lost. They banked on some sort of blue wave. Well, guess what? A lot of the blue wave was because of the squad and because of progressive upstarts. So, and then they saw, they see Ed Markey getting all this support. And that's the thing. You can pour millions of dollars into Amy McGrath's campaign, right? And she will still lose. But what you need is the AOC energy, the door knocking till your shoes are tattered. And yes, there was a safe way to do that, right?
There was.
We found out in June there was a safe way to do that, right? After BLM protesters showed us that when you're outside and you're masked, hey, you're not really spreading the virus. Now, all that said is that Democrats try and get rid of a grassroots campaign. They try to pretend, they try to act like they've got it under control, that they don't need to knock doors, that they don't need to build communities and relationships because they just get the money from out of state or whatever. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yes.
We will always have grassroots energy over Republicans. Republicans have the money. Republicans always have the steady voters. It's Democrats. Our secret weapon is mobilization, is grassroots, is community building.
It's us. It's us.
It's us.
People.
Absolutely. It's the reason Bernie Sanders, they had to jump every moderate Dem and combine them into one
Voltron
candidate that still wasn't good enough. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. This is why I support groups like Justice Democrats. This is why I support groups like Brand New Congress, bringing that progressive energy into the Democratic Party in order to take it over. That is what I've been advocating for quite some time. And it's what we need to do because that's what wins elections. And so, yes, there are these hot takes. It does show, that there is, it's like they're half self-aware. They're like, oh, we've got a problem. But then it's like, the problem is something else. And the solution is something else. Or I should say the problem is this, the solution is something else. We'll go in the wrong direction. And it's like, no, we're here. Progressives are here. Reach out to us. We'll get your back if you get ours. But that money is just so addictive.
But and that's exactly right. And this is the thing with, the false narrative around lefties. And if you have a false narrative around a lefty, just get offline. Just stop. The internet is honestly not real life. Twitter is not real life.
It's not?
But, what? But
news to me.
It's so funny because the whole narrative that, like, lefties and progressives, they're so mean and they're so cliquish and they won't work for you and they're just, they're nasty, they're this and that. Look at Sunrise. Look at Justice Dems. Look at these young people knocking doors, calling people. Look at Seed the Vote. Look at Movement Voter Project. Look at all of this work. That work wasn't done off a grant from, some big foundation. Like, no, that work was done from people who've been in the struggle for a long time, but who still know that electoral politics are important. And you're exactly right when you said, we will have your back if you have ours. Yeah, man, if you believe in Medicare for all and working towards that, we will come out for you. DSA proved that. If you want to make a just city in Los Angeles, we'll come out for you, Nithya Raman. And they came out for Nithya Raman like crazy, DSA did over here in LA, I'm saying. So that is false also. The toxicity of the left, it's like, I'm so done with it. Yes, it can be toxic, but like, that's not the main thing. That's not the problem.
And I think there's just a lot of people that are super frustrated and understand, like, it's a long game. Politics is a long game. Mitch McConnell's got it. He understands. He's playing the long game all the time. I remember doing an article for Wolfpack way back in 2012, talking about how Citizens United, Mitch McConnell, literally sitting outside of the courthouse waiting for that to happen after, basically being an architect of it or being part of that. And so Mitch McConnell understands the long game. We as progressives, we need to do so too. We need to understand that these things do take time, but to continue to fight and to push and to bring that energy when we need it.
Yes, they don't even have – I'm so sorry, you're getting me riled up. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're exactly right with Citizens United. The same thing with the Supreme Court. Like, Democrats don't even understand their rival. They don't even understand their opponent, right? They are consistently called the opposition party, and they're like, no, we love working together with all of your extremist right-wing appointments to the justice, like to the Supreme Court, right? Like, oh, no, we want to work together as you allow corporations to be people and allow endless amounts of dark money to funnel into our political system tight. Like, know who we're dealing with. These people have no morals. They are plutocrats and they relish in it. They relish in evil. You have tears, you're being deported, you're being harassed, you're being assaulted. They relish in it. They have a plan. So what is our plan? Like, what is our plan? What is our vision? What are we fighting for?
Exactly.
Who are we putting onto the Supreme Court? You know, like, so we don't even know. We don't even know.
Let me buttress your point here with some video of Don Jr. talking about what his, like, why we should reelect his dad.
So we need you to get out and bring your friends to vote tomorrow. And when we do, we can not only keep making America great again, but we can make liberals cry again.
That is their entire platform, make liberals cry. That is the conservative movement, and you're absolutely right in saying we shouldn't be happy working with that. That is not a viable political party. It is a reactionary movement that is fascist at its core, and really the only thing that they do is their purpose is to funnel money to the rich.
Right. And I will say that's exactly right. And I will say the allure of that sentence, like, make them cry. We all know that they really mean make them bleed and kill them and run them over with cars and aggress upon them. But the sentiment, I like, hats off to this idea of, like, going on the offense, making liberals cry. I want to make conservatives cry.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I do want a Planned Parenthood on every corner, next to the taco truck, next to the walk-in clinic, next to the tuition-free college, right? Like, that's what I want. That is my world. I want to make you cry, and guess what? Maybe it'll work out.
So I want to make you cry and then give you fucking health care.
Exactly. Go cry to a therapist who is funded by help, like whose services are help funded by the government, because you've got mental health care. Like, this is the thing that I think Democrats don't want to do. They don't want to scare the right because they're so worried of playing into an already bad faith discussion, an already bad faith talking point, that they're like, oh no, we're not socialists, I swear. I pissed on Castro's grave more than you did. Like, what are we talking about here? Do you remember? Why are we trying to play this game?
Do you remember during the primary where we were told by so many of the pundits, we can't nominate Bernie Sanders, he's too far left. They're going to call him a socialist. They're going to call him a communist. What happened during this entire election? Joe Biden's a socialist. Joe Biden's a communist. Bernie Sanders is running running the Democratic Party. He's the puppeteer, which, by the way, has anti-Semitic connotations to it. Just saying. And so that's another thing the right loves to do. And so it's one of those things where it's like, why don't we just go actually be left? All right, you're afraid of socialists? I'm a socialist then. Let's get it. Let's do it. I'm gonna socialism your ass so hard that you're gonna get health care and love it.
Yes. You can afford to stay in your home because we'll have rent control.
Yeah, so cry and suck on that.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think a discussion going forward for progressives, because let's be real, the left wing of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and progressives also have soul searching to do. We need to not be naive. We need to not be arrogant and say that just because we're farther left, we have all the answers. No, I think we messed up too. Sure. And I think the Sanders campaign did make mistakes. We can talk about those later.
Of course.
I also am not ready to say that Bernie would have won. Where I think, here's the thing, I don't know if Bernie would have won, but I'll tell you, the places that we're now waiting on bated breath to find out whether they went for Biden, Arizona, Nevada, the Midwest.
Latino
Bernie
voters?
took those. Bernie took a lot of those states in 2016 and in 2020, right? Not as well in the Midwest in 2020, but these are voters who were Bernie voters.
Yep.
So I'm not saying he would have won, But look at these states and look at where they stand and look at how they respond to things like an economic agenda for justice. And I will just say, and this is a whole other thing, imagine if Biden loses. Imagine if Trump won. Like, obviously awful. But if Bernie lost, if we were at this moment and Bernie lost, I would rather lose to Trump with this giant movement of momentum, of conviction, of real platform and policies, of real camaraderie and hope for a united or true united country than Joe Biden. Of course, I'd rather lose to Trump with Bernie. No question, any day. So now, of course, you get hammered by the moderates who probably wouldn't have even supported your campaign in the first place. But, there's a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda. And I'm not ready to say one way or another, but I do know that losing to Trump with an upswell of the kinds of agenda that Bernie was putting forward would have felt a lot better than losing to him with Biden. Right. I think I just restated what I said, but you get what I'm saying.
I do. And let me just put it out there that I think Bernie would have won. Fair enough.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you should put it out there. I think it is a little bit of a futile exercise, but
maybe, but
we should keep. Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. When I was on the streets protesting Trump's election in 2016, I'm in the streets of Oakland, and my friend and I hadn't seen each other in a while. And she was just like, oh my God, we could have been celebrating Bernie Sanders as our first president, or as president right now, instead of protesting Donald Trump. And those words have not left me, that I could have been taking the streets out of elation and not taking the streets out of a defeat of just a terrible candidate.
If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.